I used to believe I had a clear stance on marital infidelity. If someone asked me, "What do you think about cheating?" I would say it's wrong, of course, but I also believe deeply that if a wife cheats, there must be a reason, a serious one. Neglect, emotional abandonment, a breakdown caused by the husband's indifference. I always sided with the woman, always, and I truly thought that position was unshakable. But then this story happened and it shifted something inside me. Not drastically, not instantly, but enough to make me question things I used to be sure about. Enough to leave me with this strange, unsettled feeling that maybe I'd been too idealistic or too naive. There's a family we know, a young couple with a little child. On the surface, they seemed like any other immigrant family trying to build a new life in Canada. They came from different cultural backgrounds, an international marriage. That alone is often hard enough. Add immigration to the mix, and life becomes a constant uphill climb. The husband didn't speak English at all, so from day one, survival fell heavily on him. He took every hard job he could get. Warehouses, night shifts, construction, anything. Often 14 hours a day. Often injured. Often showing up at the clinic with bruises or strains or cuts. But he kept going, not because he loved the job, but because he loved his family. Meanwhile, his wife, the friend we knew, was living a very different rhythm. She called herself a delicate flower, and honestly, she kind of lived like one. She took courses. She bought clothes and flowers. She stayed home with the child. She always looked perfect. Hair done, nails done, makeup flawless. She had a lighter job obtained through a friend. And every Sunday, without fail, she went to church. Always beautifully dressed, posting selfies from the church entrance, captions about faith and grace and humility. When she spoke about her husband, she painted a very dark picture, manipulative, emotionally abusive, controlling. She said he made her life miserable, that he belittled her, that she felt unsafe with him. And I believed every word. Women rarely lie about abuse, at least that's what I thought. And besides, she was calm, articulate, expressive. He was the silent type, the type who works, not talks. I never questioned her stories, not once. Everything changed the day we finally met her husband. I expected something different, a cold person, a rude one, someone who radiated dominance or aggression. But instead, we met a quiet, tired, soft-spoken man. A man who seemed more shy than controlling, more exhausted than aggressive. A man whose first concern was always their daughter, her food, her schedule, her school, her comfort. The puzzle simply didn't fit. But I reminded myself people behave differently in public. Maybe he hides who he really is. Maybe he's manipulative only in private. Maybe I just didn't understand the full picture. So I didn't question it further. Not yet. One evening, we heard that she had left home with the child and was staying with friends because she feared for her life. Of course, we took that seriously. A statement like that can't be ignored. We connected her with social services, shelters, organizations supporting victims of domestic violence, community resources. But she didn't go to any of them, not the shelters, not the counselors, not the hotline. Every time we gently suggested it, she brushed it aside, saying she was thinking about it, but never actually reaching out. It was strange, but again, I didn't question it. Maybe she was overwhelmed. Maybe she was scared. Maybe she didn't trust the system. I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. A couple of weeks later, we finally heard the husband's side. He reached out first through my husband because they had always been friendly. When we met him, he looked like a man who hadn't slept in days. He wasn't angry, he wasn't defensive, he was devastated, broken in a way that felt too raw to be fake. And then he told us what happened the day she ran away. He had come home early from work, didn't warn her in advance, didn't text, didn't call. And outside their home, he saw her saying goodbye to another man from their church. Not a simple, friendly goodbye. Not a handshake or a wave. Something far more intimate. Nothing graphic, just unmistakably inappropriate for a married woman. He confronted her. Words escalated, like they often do between couples in pain. He said things he shouldn't have said. He threatened to take their child because he didn't trust her judgment anymore. But at no point did he touch her. He claimed that calmly, openly, directly. And the strange thing is, he didn't sound like a liar. He sounded like someone trying to cling onto the last pieces of a life crumbling beneath him. The next morning, she disappeared with the child and went into hiding. For days, he had no idea where they were. He called, messaged, begged her to come back home, not for him, for their daughter. He ended up sleeping in his car, sometimes on a friend's couch. September nights in Canada aren't exactly warm. All the while, she kept using his house, the house he paid for, while refusing to let him enter the home he worked himself to the bone to provide. And while she told everyone she was terrified of him, she was meeting openly with the same man from the church. No shame, no secrecy. As time went on, more details surfaced. Friends who'd been close to them shared what they knew, and slowly the pattern became clear. Her stories were always emotional judgments. He's toxic. He wants me to suffer. He destroys my peace. But she gave no specifics, no examples, no concrete evidence. His stories, on the other hand, were specific and almost boring in their simplicity. She told me I wasn't allowed to go camping with her friends because I'm not educated enough and I'd embarrass her. She said my job makes me look like a villager. She said she wishes she married a different type of man. And when we heard these, we realized something unsettling. They matched her personality a little too well. The subtle arrogance, the curated lifestyle, the way she talked about him as if he were beneath her. Suddenly, the narrative shifted. Not completely, but enough to break my blind loyalty. We encouraged him to see a therapist. He did. A private one, paid out of his own pocket. He's still on a wait list for a government-funded one. Meanwhile, on weekends, he takes care of their daughter. He buys her food, takes her on small trips, does everything he can to give her a sense of normalcy. And the wife? She openly spends time with the man from church, the same man she was embracing outside her home, telling anyone who'll listen that once she divorces her husband, she plans to marry this new guy. Because he has Canadian citizenship, and she wants to stay in the country. This couple should never have been together. They were incompatible from the start, culturally, emotionally, socially. But they stayed together for the child. And now that child is in the middle of a storm she never asked for. A custody battle waiting to happen. Two parents living in separate worlds, one stable but exhausted, the other dramatic but charming. I don't know how their story will end. I don't know who the court will side with. I don't know what justice looks like here. But what I do know is this. This story changed me. Not into a cynic, not into someone who distrusts women, but into someone who no longer assumes the truth belongs automatically to one side. Sometimes people lie. Sometimes people distort. Sometimes victims aren't the ones who speak the loudest. Sometimes the quiet one is the one who's actually hurting. And sometimes your moral compass needs to be shaken so it can realign in a more honest direction.